Alliances are shifting, sanctions are biting, and giants are slipping through loopholes. Pakistan and Saudi Arabia just tied their security fates together. America pulled the plug on India's Chabahar dream. Lavrov mocked Washington's pressure. SEBI handed Adani a clean slate. And Britain's £150 billion windfall hides some ugly truths. Big moves, hidden cracks. Let's unpack them all. Good morning. Welcome to Top of the Morning by Mint. I'm your host, Nelson John. This is your smart daily briefing on what matters. From big moves in business to headlines shaping India and the world, we cut through the noise so you start your day informed and ahead. It's Friday, September 19th. Let's get started. After Israel struck Hamas leaders in Qatar's capital last week, shockwaves rippled across the Gulf. Now, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have responded with their biggest defense move in decades. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman just signed what they are calling a strategic mutual defense agreement. Now, the deal is simple but powerful. Any attack on either countries gets treated as an attack on both. Any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both, reads their joint statement. Pakistan's army chief, foreign ministers and defense minister all flew to Riyadh to seal this deal. Now let's break this down. This isn't entirely new. Pakistan has quietly supported Saudi Arabia for over 50 years with up to 20,000 Pakistani troops deployed there at times. Pakistani special forces even helped clear terrorists from Mecca's Grand Mosque back in 1979. They've had a bilateral security agreement since 1982. But this new pact makes everything official. What this really means is Pakistan just formalized its role as Saudi Arabia's security backbone in the Middle East. For Pakistan, it locks in crucial Saudi investment during tough economic times. For Saudi Arabia, it's about tapping into Pakistan's nuclear capabilities and military experts. Here's the thing. This deal sends a message far beyond the two countries involved. Saudi Arabia just told Washington and Tel Aviv that regional alliances are shifting. The timing, isn't coincidental. This happened right after an emergency summit of 60 Arab and Muslim nations responding to Israeli strikes. India isn't thrilled. External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said they're studying the implications and will take all steps to protect India's national interests. Now, this complicates India's growing defense ties with Saudi Arabia, including joint military exercises and a $225 million artillery deal signed just last year. The broader picture shows how Middle Eastern security architecture is evolving. While India has been building defense partnerships with Gulf states, Pakistan's institutionalized role with Saudi Arabia creates a new dynamic. Pakistani military personnel are already deployed across the UAE and Bahrain, training local forces. What we're witnessing is Pakistan positioning itself as the go-to security provider for the Islamic world, with Saudi backing making that role official. India just got a $250 million reality check. The US announced it's revoking sanctions relief for Iran's Chabahar port, effective September 29th, throwing a wrench into New Delhi's ambitious regional connectivity plans. Now here's the thing. This port isn't just another infrastructure project. It's India's gateway to Central Asia and Afghanistan, bypassing Pakistan entirely. The strategic location of the Gulf of Oman has been a game changer for India's regional influence. The backstory matters. Back in 2018, the US gave India a sanction waiver to develop Chabahar. Now, this May, India doubled down with a 10-year agreement pledging $250 million for port development. Plans were already underway to boost capacity to 500,000 TEUs and connect it to Iran's railway network by mid-2026. But Trump's maximum pressure policy against Tehran has changed everything. The State Department made it clear. Once the revocation is effect, persons who operate the Chabahar port may expose themselves to sanctions. Now, what this really means is India faces a tough choice. Risk US sanctions or abandon a project that's already delivered results. The port helped ship 20,000 tons of wheat to Afghanistan in 2023 and has been crucial for humanitarian aid. Breaking this down, India has until September 29 to figure out how to salvage years of investment and strategic planning. The clock is ticking on one of India's most important geopolitical assets. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov just delivered diplomatic shade at Washington's pressure tactics, defending India and China as ancient civilizations that won't bow to America's ultimatums. Here's what sparked this showdown. Trump slapped India with brutal 50% tariffs after New Delhi refused to stop buying Russian oil. The message was clear: dump Russian energy or face economic pain. Lavrov wasn't having it. Speaking on Russian TV, he said telling ancient civilizations, either stop doing what I don't like or I will impose tariffs on you, simply won't work. The American pressure campaign has been relentless. White House advisor Peter Navarro branded India the Maharaja of tariffs and accused Indian refiners of being in bed with Russian refiners. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick complained India brags about having 1.4 billion people but won't even buy a small amount of American corn. What this really means is bigger than trade numbers. It's about whether economic superpowers can dictate terms to sovereign nations through tariff threats. Lavrov's pushback suggests that strategy might be backfiring. After 15 months of corporate drama, India's market regulator just handed Adani Group a complete victory. SEBI cleared Gautam Adani and his executives of all Hindenburg research allegations. Here's the twist. Adani Group did exactly what Hindenburg accused them of, routing funds through 3 intermediary companies. But it wasn't illegal when they did it. The case hinged on a regulatory loophole. When these transactions happened, SEBI's rules only covered direct related party transactions. Adani used intermediaries which technically weren't related parties under the old definition. SEBI acknowledged this gap and tightened rules in 2021. But here's the thing. You can't apply new rules to old transactions. The regulator gave new rules prospective effective only. Gautam Adani wasn't holding back. He demanded an apology from those who spread false narratives and expressed sympathy for investors who lost money from the fraudulent report. What this really means is bigger than one company. Legal experts say this reveals how corporate structures can exploit regulatory blind spots. If the same transaction happened today, they'd be illegal. But the law has been tightened to prevent exactly these kind of structural walkarounds. Britain just scored £150 billion in US investment promises. But here's the thing. It might not be the victory it seems. Trump and Starmer signed the tech prosperity deal with Microsoft pledging £22 billion and Google committing £5 billion. The headline grabber, Blackstone's £90 billion investment, though details remain vague. Let's break this down. While the UK government celebrates 7,600 new jobs, UK payrolls actually dropped by 127,000 this year. Job vacancies are down 14%. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Major companies are simultaneously fleeing Britain. US giant Merck scrapped £1 billion investment moving research to America. AstraZeneca paused £200 million in Cambridge plans, also shifting stateside. Both cited Britain as increasingly challenging for business. Former Deputy PM Nick Clegg wasn't impressed, calling it crumbs from the Silicon Valley table. The real question isn't whether this creates jobs, but whether it addresses Britain's deeper problem of becoming a launchpad for America's success stories. That's all for today. Thank you for joining in. We're eagerly looking forward to our next Top of the Morning episode, which will be packed with the latest news. Until then, this is Nelson John signing off. Have a great weekend.